Welcome to Awakening and Activating New Illumination Lighthouse Leadership. This is with AliNICOLE WOW and Brenda Jacobson from awakeningconsciously.com. And we are new illuminators of Lighthouse leaders. And today we're going to share with you my rendering of an activation that is called the New Illumination Lighthouse Leadership. And we're going to talk about why it's important for leaders to really actually be immersed in this process during this time. And Brenda's going to share her experience with immersing herself into this activation process and how she believes it will best serve leaders, during this time. And after our conversation, you will get to experience this. After our conversation, we're going to put on the guided activation for you. So, Brenda, I appreciate you once again being here with me.
Always a pleasure. It's everyone just takes us to a new level, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. It does, and it's interesting because I feel like a new activation coming forth.
Oh, good.
Yes, it's almost like we get into this space and things begin to happen that are just incredible. And I believe that these things take place because of the timing of the importance of and relevance of these things needing to come forth. And so it's really time for this higher level of illumination, to take place. So I know we're going to have a conversation, about this that's going to get them prepared for this guided activation.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say it's this takes us into a different level. The other ones that we've done have been more around our individual impact, the impact that we have on ourselves, where this one really does touch into the influence that we have in the world.
You're right. And our influence is so important, especially during these times. And the call to new leadership light and the importance of that, because there have been many great leaders, as we know, and some who have really served us greatly. But when we're in a time of shifting, even great leadership sometimes can come up short if they are not synced up with the evolutionary expansion. And then also some who aren't really called to be part of the newer light in terms of their influence and their impact. It doesn't mean that they've fallen away or anything. It just means that they know that it's no longer their time to be in the forefront, and new illuminators such as ourselves, need to be out in the forefront during these times. But it's definitely time for some new activation. So go ahead. I'd love to hear anything else you have to say about that.
No, you're absolutely right. This is we've entered new territory here as leaders, and the tools that we had in the past no longer work in this new energy, and they no longer serve the greater good. So those of us that are here with the mission to serve others really need to adopt a new way of doing that. The old, kind of that old masculine, fear-based energy does not work. So activating those new, kind of more the feminine frequencies of compassion and empathy and collaboration and just those elevated, expansive energies is just critically important for us personally and for the impact that we're going to have on the world.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And it has certainly been time for this significant shift, for sure. And catching the world up, humanity up with their evolutionary impulse to be able to step more into the higher illumination so that they can see the truth on all levels. And that's what's going to help them shift into their own, compelling greatness. It's interesting because I'm being here, just present, in the space right now. And I was saying to you that I feel like some other type of activation is, sort of coming forward, not necessarily in a process, so to speak, but there is a prompting. And what I sense is that it's it's an impulse. That evolutionary impulse is the higher call to humanity's light, and meaning that there's more people, more leaders that are going to be emerging because they're ready to really activate their truth. And so this is on so many different levels. It's from, the stay-at-home mom who's leading, and just different people in areas that maybe we don't perceive those to be leadership roles. And you and I have had so many conversations about everybody to a certain extent is a leader, and whether they're a parent, a teacher, just however, they're leading somebody. And obviously we lead ourselves effectively, then we can ultimately lead others, effectively. So what's kind of coming to me right now is that the awareness to the leader within each individual is really what's rising to the top. And so people are going to be getting in their positions of authority, no matter what the levels are, to be able to now exude that new truth and to be illuminate. So it doesn't matter whether they are showing up as a candle, showing up as a lamppost, showing up as a lantern. It's just all these different variations of the light, which I, believe I mentioned that even within the activation, but I'm just feeling it so strongly right now in the moment, that we needed to actually have sort of some dialogue around that before actually shifting into, the guided process that they'll be hearing is that this is really speaking to the leader within each and every individual, whether it is a child, a youth, someone who's middle-aged, older. It's just a wide range of the leadership activation, that's taking place. And that's how we become the light of the world collectively. And it's not just about those who are in certain positions, even though the activation is primarily, kind of targeted, if you will, to those who are in the positions, those who have been obscured in a sense. But if we think about obscurity, every leader who has not come forth in the higher demonstration have all been in obscured positions. So even the person who's in their family who's overlooked, and maybe they're not here to be on a big stage, but right within their home, it's time for them to be recognized as that light. So it's just rippling out on so many different levels that that's how this activation really expands, and it brings forth the evolution, of this collective aspect. And so you spoke about that the other activations that we've done are around individuality. And even though this has those elements, because we each have our own duties as individual leaders to level up our light, but in this collectiveness, it's not just about those who are coming in these authority positions, like how we are, and rising to the top. It is just about the whole of a leader, the embodiment of leadership on earth that needs to be reflecting this new light. So I know that was quite a bit that came out just then, but that was that's like more activation energy that comes forth, before we even share this guided activation.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be introducing this to the world, because it's so timely right now. It's when all of these new codes are coming in, and people are shifting and upgrading personally and individually. This is the time when leaders can have the greatest impact if they're working from this new vibration.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on the note of that new vibration, I would love to hear you share about your experience with really immersion is what when you were sharing on another call that we did, and you were just talking about before revisiting and going back and listening to it, I could feel that there was an immersion dynamics that would be happening for you when you would come back and revisit to listen to it, again. And so would definitely love to hear just anything around your experience with this, because you had two experiences with it.
Yeah. And I often will do that. Like I'll just sink into the experience first and allow it to impact my body. And then I do it when I'm more conscious so that I can understand the process and apply the principles consciously within my life. So there's both the subconscious and the conscious aspects of this. And for me, I don't know how everybody else is, but for me, I can't do them at the same time. So I just kind of released into the experience. And even before I had time to go through the left brain understanding of what was going on, things in my life started to change. Opportunities, the very next day, opportunities started flowing in, and just both on the personal level, on the business level. And it was just incredible. I couldn't believe that it had that kind of an impact, that quickly.
Yeah, that quickly. Yeah,
So,
they do.
Yeah.
And so this particular one here, with this call to the higher illumination and leaders showing up in really facet aspects of their light, it just goes back to what you were saying. You've had different activations that have giving you those types of breakthroughs, and then the more you actually listen to others, it just activates it even more. So I can only imagine that with the illumination and luminous work that you already do, that a process and activation such as this just really expands that light, and for that mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when the light starts shining, you see this is where opportunities and possibilities start coming forth. It's not that they didn't exist before. It's that when you illuminate them, it's like shining that light into the dark corners where these are hidden away and inviting those opportunities to come forth. So it has that kind of impact. It's quite fabulous.
Well, thank you, because I appreciate you really sharing that, because it is important, because this is the newer energy, like we've been talking about, this new expansion. And when you can see the opportunities and infinite possibilities, because there's different realms, of that exist. The illumination just gives us those new eyes to be able to not just see it once, but continuously see kind of the series and the flow. It's like, following the light that gives way to more light, that gives way to more light. And I believe, honestly, that's really important during this time, is even in our own leadership expansion and being these new illuminate lighthouses, is that we don't just get caught up in the lighthouse that we feel we are at this moment, because that can continue to evolve and expand, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, I guess we better introduce the main event here for the New Illumination Lighthouse Leadership Activation. So I'm going to turn it over to you to just lead us into that experience.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of what you're going to experience in this activation. And the next best thing is for you to do it for yourself. So sit back and relax and go with the flow and enjoy.
I'd like to welcome you to this New Illumination Lighthouse Leadership Activation. This is a special time where those who have been in obscurity, who are part of the new light leadership, will start to rise and start to come forth, overtaking the current leadership that has been in place, that is no longer relevant for the new shifting of dynamics of great change. Now, this is not to say that some of the leaders who are being removed or will no longer be in the domination space, so to speak. It's not saying that all of those have fallen short, so to speak. Some, it's just that their time has expired in terms of being the higher light of relevance. So there's a remnant of leaders who have been being prepared, and over time, they have been the ones who have been really in the shadows, been the obscure brand um, of leaders. But this is the time where everything that they've been being prepared for comes forth because it's exactly what is needed during these times. Now, something I do want to point out, though, is that you will see the decline of certain leaders or certain ones in very prominent roles, and some of them are going out because they are no longer supposed to be in place. A lot of them have followed false callings or false light callings and believe that they are doing the right things in their leadership, but they have really failed to rise up and level up into the newer light expansion that is so needed, not just during this time, but it's what's going to carry us into the next 2 decades to set up a new normal of leadership that is certainly required. But it all starts in the now. So I'd like for everyone to take a deep breath, please. And as I allow myself to be in the receptive mode for what all will entail in this activation, I was just guided to come forth because I know that the time is now to activate this force in the world and to be able to provide the covering also for the leaders who are rising and emerging during this time. So I just also want to mention that these leaders have actually leveled up on a completely different trajectory. And it's almost like there's a fix between the worlds in terms of these leaders versus the current leaders, or the ones who are already falling off and falling away, so to speak. But because there is the opportunity to have the observation of both sides, I just want to assure the leaders whom are rising up that they will not have to worry about contrast or conflict from the leaders who have fallen away, those who are losing their positions, so to speak, but also the ones where the tide is just shifting and they realize that they've run their course and they've done, their jobs, and it is time for someone else, the other new Illuminate leaders to come forth. And so I believe it was important for me to share that so that these leaders don't think that, oh, okay, I'm coming to the forefront. Maybe there's going to be some haterism. Maybe there's going to be some backlash. Um, there should not be any of that because it would not be able to cross over into the trajectory that you're in. But to reassure that, I'm sure within whatever comes forth, there will be um, some reminders of that assurance to come forth, to know that you are covered, during these times, and that your light is so illuminate, and the force that is within you and coming from you is much like the sun, and nothing can get close to the sun without really burning up and disintegrating. So you just don't need to worry. The collective of this new embodiment of new illumination lighthouse leaders, yeah, together you have this force about you that will not be able to be penetrated, um, nor to be tarnished in any way. So let's breathe again. Take about 3 nice deep breaths, please. And so I'm being guided to set a very powerful intention. And so give me a moment so that I can receive that intention, because you are the new illumination light of the world. bringing forth new mantles to other leaders during this time. There are ones that are going to be rising up quickly, and those of you who are in the forefront of this will be sort of crowning those and giving mantles of wisdom and activations as well to those who are coming along, who are going to be within your sphere of influence, who are ready to be part of this new illumination force. And they've been being prepared as well, but not as prepared as you. So as they are emerging, you have everything that you need to be able to facilitate the process for them to level up quickly and to go out and be the dominant forces and this higher illumination. So give me just a moment here. So the intention is about the activation that activates other activations. So basically, it's the ripple effect that goes out as you are activated in your new illumination lighthouse leadership template. It's like your inner blueprint, so to speak. As you are activated, then you go on to continue to get more activations in leveling up. But you also will then, as I mentioned before, be activating others and stimulating that activation. And then the process starts with them. And then they in turn go out and bring forth this activation, vibration, and energy into the others that they'll be influencing as well. And so this is what makes up, the sun, as I use that metaphorically, and just all the rays that come from the sun, these different extensions. And that's how everyone operates in this unit, even though they are in their own unique individuality. So at this moment, I want you to just focus on the light of who you have become. Focus on the light of who you have become. Just breathe into that, because it's really important right now that you focus in on the light, again, that you have become. So this is not about reflecting over your journey. This is really about the power of the present moment and the illumination that's being activated during this time. As you focus in on the new light that you have become, some of you will actually feel and sense and maybe even see the expansion of this light, the more illumination that comes forward. Some of you may start to feel yourself as being a lighthouse, but feeling really grounded, really anchored, really solid, and just taking your stand at this time in your rightful position to shine forth in the most relevant time. Because your light is going to be one that's being shined even in the light of the light. So it's not just about the light being turned on in the darkness, but this illumination is one that's just going to be a continuation. But it will find its relevance of tones and textures within that light during the times that they're needed. So an example is that in the evening, as the dusk is coming in and the darkness is setting in, the light is perfect for that time. Then obviously when everything is dark and it's black and it's night in the early AM, then the light is shining in the relevance of that time as well. Then as you're moving into the dawn of a new day, then what you experience is enough of that light that's coming through at that time as well. And so though even in the bright daylight, you may not be able to really see the illumination from the lighthouse, but the thing about it is that you've become one within the daylight, and you are already illuminating, and you're being one with that. It's just that your light in some contexts will be seen, more when it's not as bright outside, so to speak. But again, that's the energy, that's the vibration that you'll be carrying consistently. And this is such a beautiful time, a beautiful space to be in because there are so many others who are really requiring this new light to come forth at this time. And especially those who are emerging leaders who are really looking to these new leaders to be able to bring forth the new direction and to be able to light the shore and lead the new way. They'll feel right at home as they are making their way to you. And a lot of them have not been really engaging themselves in a lot of the current leaderships or the old models. They've used some to, kind of leverage because that's kind of just all of what's out there. But within them, they've known that there's something more and that they've not needed to get too attached to those frameworks. It's almost like certain things were serving as placeholders, but a lot of them have even been able and willing to kind of surrender that and just be with the space of not knowing or maybe having nothing at this time until something else emerges. And this is where your new light comes forth. Your new illumination comes forth and it shines forth. And the activations that will be taking place during this time, which they're already happening. Some of you are already getting that at the very cellular level and the cellular level. And ahas and different awarenesses are coming online within you. It's a greater awakening because the illumination gives way to more illumination and the expansion gives way to more expansion. And that's the more relevant context of you coming forth. So what it is that as you focus still even on the light that you become, what you'll sense is that that is continuing to expand, getting brighter, and becoming more illuminate. So at this moment, I want you to feel into the solidness, the groundedness, the anchoredness as you are standing in this new illumination energy, new illumination lighthouse. It is a vibration. And some of you will already be receiving what your new assignments are within the context of this new light and being this new illuminate leader during this time. While others of you will then start to sense a rearranging or repositioning of your current mission and feel and sense that leveling up into the evolutionary expansion as what it will be during this time. So new thoughts will take flight within you, new awarenesses, new approaches. And you're also going to find that there's some new availability to you in terms of greater clarity and wisdom and insight for how you will be moving forward. So I want you to feel into this newness because this is where a deeper embedding of the activation takes place. And so even during this time, as things are unlocking more within you and you are receiving these greater insights and this greater, more expanded wisdom in terms of how you position this illumination. And what I mean by that is that even though you're taking your stand and you're grounded, but as you send forth your light goes into different places. And so one of the concerns that I can even feel energetically, vibrationally, is that there's all some of you are already thinking, so how is this going to play out? And not to get too far ahead of yourself, but just understanding that you're going to beam your light accordingly because you've already been accurately prepared. So it's not really something to really think about and wrap your mind around. These are the wisdoms and insights that would just flow to you naturally and organically, but more rapidly but actually with greater clarity too. And as you meet up with that and sync up with that in consciousness, immediately it will start expanding. So some of you are already feeling and sensing that now, that you've gotten the aha, and just as soon as you've gotten that aha, some expansion has come. So let's be with the space here. So let's just be present with that, because that needs to actually settle. So what has come up, I don't need you to try to process this. Just know and be aware that it's come up, and let's go ahead and anchor and activate this now. So take about 5 deep breaths, please. So this new light that's coming forth from you and from the collective embodiment of all of those who are synced up in this new illumination. Your new light is guiding others to you. So some of you are going to be very amazed, but yet should not be surprised when you have a certain amount of people, or the masses or so. It may come to different people in different ways, where your influence is shining forth and people are just here now before you. They're just present. They've sought you out. They've recognized the light, and now they are taking action, meaning they're finding ways to participate with you or just to be in your energy. So an example that's coming to mind, it could very well be something like being on a social media post and just have, out of nowhere, tons of people just come to that particular post, and they start interacting, they start engaging with you, or they start taking advantage of opportunities that you put out there. And that's why it is important during this time to be showing up. But even within your physical reality, in terms of your everyday life, when you go out, you'll just see that there's a gravitation for a certain set of unique individuals. But you'll also experience where there's kind of the, not the dispensation, or people that actually won't be able to get into your field. So it's more like, not necessarily a disconnect, so to speak, but it's the disbursement. That's the word. It's the disbursement of energy in individuals that will only be able to get certain levels of you according to their evolution. And so you may find that because of your evolutionary expansion, that less people are in your physical space, but the divine right ones will be making their way to you. And then new relationships will blossom and expand. So this new energy of your illumination and being the new Illuminate lighthouse leaders that you are, is that there's nothing to fear within this space. You will find that even certain contrast elements or aspects of your experience seem to take on a different form, almost as if they aren't contrast at all, just maybe little triggers or so to help you quickly level up your light if you need to. And some of those occurrences come with a compound effect of wisdom. So meaning it may show up a certain way, but there's different layers of wisdom and insight and messages within just that one unique experience, or however it is presenting itself. And so with that, you have to be very present and know that there's something else within there that pertains to your higher calling, and there's maybe a message that you need to unpack from that unique experience, and then be able to see how you leverage the wisdom that comes up from that into whatever format that you need in order to be able to present this to whatever audience it is that it's going to be most relevant for. So now let's activate the higher light wisdom. And interestingly, this is about multiplying yourself. So just because you seem to stand as one illumination lighthouse, but you have to see yourself as different variations of a multifaceted lighthouse effect. So you're not just taking your stand in one place and being anchored there. You, in your essence, are being anchored in a variety of places, a variety of areas. And so now I call forth the activation of the multifaceted light that you will be beaming out in various formats, very different dimensions of them. None of them are really the same. So an example is that in some cases you could be a very big lighthouse, and some it could be a very small one. But there's going to be so many different formats that your light shows up in. Street lights, lanterns, all these different things that make up, though, a collective embodiment of your higher light. And some of you will feel yourself as towers and monuments of light, just different formats that will come about. So at this time, the reassurance energy comes in that you can move forward in being this new illumination with, again, no fear, and knowing and understanding that you are covered, you are protected. It is a higher divine context that is around you in this new illumination. So it's a new order of divine protection for this level of your divine assignment. So let's be present in the space, because there's actually a call forth for gratitude during this time. So give thanks for at least 3 things that this journey produced for you. And then we'll move right into the evolutionary expansion, because we don't want to stay in the space of anything that is prior to this now moment. But there's a call to the gratitude so that you can have some recall that has brought you to this place of evolution and expansion. So take about 3 deep breaths, please. Okay. So now we move into the greater evolution of this activation. And some of you will then start to feel at a deeper level at the core of your beingness that something is rising up. And it is really that new illumination light energy from within you. But as that's happening, you will get more illumination as it relates to your leadership purpose in the now. So some of you may hear a phrase or a song or a smell or something comes up that will give you an indication of something you need to pay attention to, that will have that compounding effect of wisdom within it. And so you really have to be present with it and start to unpack it, because it's like revealing the light, revealing the light, revealing the light, revealing the light. And then this grander context of illumination comes forth as that process is ensuing. So the activation comes forth now for the expansion of the evolution. And so what's happening during this time is that the light that you were focusing on that you have become, you've become already newer light, newer expanded light since being in this process. So now I need you to be present with that vibration of yourself because you have leveled up and quantified your illumination. And so it's with the activation for that now, and then now let's expand that into the next level of your evolution. And upon sensing that, something else should be sort of rising in your awareness in terms of the way you need to be during this time. Because the way you need to be is going to give you the indication of how you need to lead in the present. Because everything is about the now and expanding into each new now. And so now upon this expanded awareness and beingness, now the activation of the higher light to come in as well. It's coming through and it's coming in. And that higher light is really more divine wisdom and insight. And it's just meeting up with the part of you that already resonates with this and is already very much aware. It's like the calling forth from within, the calling forth from without, and joining in this conscious union. So now this energy that comes forth now, it's the leaders of leaders. And so it's a new embedding for you of this activation. And as you go out, again, this is what's going to activate other leaders. But your vibration is also going to give them the knowing and the resonance of knowing you are the true light, the true new light, light of the world. And within this also comes this higher activation of the true Christ template within you to be the light of the world and to be the salt of the earth, to bring forth this greater context of illumination. And this is important because there are awakenings that have been happening that call forth a false Christ energy, just like there are ones who have fallen to the false light calling. And so we want to make sure that we are in truth. And this truth has nothing to do with a religious context, organized religion, or anything. This is the truth of the Christ energy, the truth of being the light of the world, because he demonstrated the epitome of illuminate leadership. But there's a newer context and vibration to that. So we don't actually need to hold on to the old format of even that demonstration that walked the earth. You have to be now synced up with the truth and the newness of that expanded and evolved context, which will then bring the illumination through you that will beam forth that new light and not just being the light of the world. There are several lights, but they are not necessarily the relevant lights nor the right light. So just know within this context, there's no deceptive energy. It is of the new highest and purest form of true source connection. It's flowing through each and every new illumination leader, and especially during this time. But that light will continue to expand. It will continue to evolve for the greater enhancement and enrichment of everyone that each of you come in contact with. that what you vibrate as a frequency just goes out to the masses. It's what they are tuning into. And as they tune into that, they're going to find the truth of who they are. So now we activate this and we ground this at a deeper level. At the core of you being anchored as you're still ascending and expanding in this greater awareness of your newness. So we're going to be present with that. Let's be present in the space with the newness that you have become. And again, some of you will start to hear this expanded assignment that you're here for. You'll be receiving the information of what you need to be doing now and what is emerging. So there's 2 trajectory tracks that you'll be playing from. The assignment for now and the one that is to come. And how you prepare for that, because your shifts will be very subtle yet very significant, and they will be in an accelerated format. So you have to be ready to sync up quickly, to go from one strand of illumination to another strand of illumination, and it just continues. So there's another call to give thanks during this moment. Giving thanks for your new light has come forth, and it's time to shine. That you rise to the top, that you rise in the light, and there's power in your rise during this season. You are beyond beacons at this point. Mm. So now that is activated as well. More light switches are being flipped on within you. So many different ways. You are the very embodiment and the epitome of new Illumination Lighthouse leadership. So in this moment, I want you to celebrate yourself, celebrate your source, celebrate the divine assignment, celebrate the now and how profound it is to reveal to you so many different levels of not just your greatness and potential, but so many different levels to life, the beauty of it, the expansion of it, the continuation of it. So let's take that deeper and activate the compound energy from that. So it's time to position yourself. Position yourself. And that word keeps kind of repeating within my awareness. Position yourself, position yourself, position yourself. And what I take that to mean is that all those different variations of your new illumination are getting in position to shine forth. So let's take a deep breath, please. So the power has been turned on, and you are now generating this new light. And it's beaming and broadcasting forth from you. Let's give thanks right now for the masses that are being up-leveled, transformed, and evolved, awakened from this experience that you are having, that they will benefit from. And they're even benefiting now. already ready to sync up with you, already feeling like their prayers have been answered, already feeling like there's new light and new hope available to them. And this is what's going to draw them like a magnet, like a moth to a flame. And you should see it and witness it and experience it. That they just seem to be coming out of nowhere, yet you're aware that they were certainly making their way to you. But it's nothing like the physicality of it happening. So many blinded eyes now seeing. So many who have been in darkness but have been doing the best that they can, now being able to see clearly, and they can clearly see you and receive from your light everything that is required for their journey, because certainly it will be unique for each individual. So now it's time for you to go forth and lead from this new light, to lead from this place and space of new illumination. So for this phase, you are fully activated in your new Illumination Lighthouse Leadership Authority. And this time, it is your time to shine forth, to be courageous, to be fearless, to be the authority that you have been prepared to be. And you will see yourself in mirror reflections and others who have leveled up in this light as well. And I want you all to be amazed at one another, celebrate each other, work together, collaborate in spirit. That even those you don't know and you never lay eyes on, but who are part of this new illumination energy, just vibrationally celebrate each other. Let each other know that you're there for one another, that you're in this together, though in your individuality, collectively, you all are ready for this mission to go forth. I'm just going to be present with the space just a little while longer here. Continue to take deep breaths if you feel guided, but know that you have been activated for this time. There will always be other activations that take place to awaken more of that illumination that's within, unpacking your light and continuously unpacking your light. So as this level of the activation concludes, the word settlement is coming up. So that means that definitely there's so much groundedness and solidness that has taken place, so much anchoredness that has occurred. And now you're just going to allow the wisdom that has come forth, the activations that have taken place. You're just going to allow all of this to adjust itself within you. And that's part of the settlement. Things are just coming to settle, so that it is just part of what will be sort of your new anatomy, if you will, the new way of being. And again, it's from there that you will lead your life and lead your mission from this higher context of illumination. So feel into your light of now, who you have become, what you are in this moment. Feel into that greater context of expanded illumination. Take a deep breath, please. And now I send you forth activated with this new illumination template. May you extract the compound wisdom that will continue to come forth and guide you step by step through this process of this new way of beingness in your life and in your leadership. So it's time to go and be the light, the new light. Thank you.